Last night you learned about the basics of angles, just basic types of angles. Tonight we're going to talk about pairs of angles. So our objective is I can recognize and identify types of angles such as supplementary, complementary, vertical, and adjacent. Those are the 4 types of pairs of angles you need to know about in 7th grade. Supplementary angles, if we look here, these are a pair of supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are 2 angles that add up to 180 degrees. If you took 130 plus 50, angle ABC is 130, and angle PQR is 50. And if you take 130 plus 50, you come up with 180. Therefore, those 2 angles are supplementary. Oops, 2 P's. Supplementary are just 2 angles that add up to 180. Another pair of angles you need to know about in 7th grade are complementary angles. If we take a look here and we take angle ABC, and we add that one to angle, the measure of that to angle PQR, those are complementary angles because if we take the measure of angle ABC, which is 60 degrees, we add to that the measure of angle PQR, which is 30 degrees, we come up with 90 degrees. Those are complementary angles. Complementary angles are a pair of angles that add up to 90 degrees. Miss Pearson likes to say it's right to give a compliment. So complementary angles are 90 degrees. Some people like to take the CO at the beginning and drop a 9 down from the complementary, and that reminds you 90 degrees. Some people like to take the SU for supplementary, make the S into an 8, and put a 1 in front, make the U a 0. Who knows? 2 angles that add up to 180 are supplementary. 2 angles that add up to 90 are a complementary pair. You also need to understand about vertical angles. Vertical angles are angles opposite each other when 2 lines intersect. So angle AOB and angle COD are vertical. Vertical angles will have the same measure. So the measure of angle AOB is the same as the measure of angle COD. So those angles are actually congruent. Vertical angles will be congruent. There's another pair of vertical angles here. AOD, angle AOD is vertical to angle BOC. B to O to C. Those are also a vertical pair. That's a pair of vertical angles, and those will also be congruent. This angle here, AOD, is exactly the same measure as BOC. Opposite angles when 2 lines intersect are vertical. I think they touched upon some of this in the Math Antics video. And then finally we have these adjacent angles. Adjacent angles, the only thing special about adjacent angles is they share a side. So angle COB is adjacent to angle AOB. Those are adjacent angles. They share this side. They share OB and the vertex O. So the bottom angle has OB as a side and O as a vertex, and this top angle has OB as a side and O as a vertex. So those are adjacent angles. It just means they touch, they share a side. All right, from last night, the types of angles you discussed were right angles. That's an angle that makes a 90-degree angle, acute angle, angles less than 90, obtuse angles, angles greater than 90, and straight angles, angles that measure 180 degrees or form a straight line. So that's just a quick review of last night. Let's get a little bit more involved in the specific types of angle pairs we need to know at 7th grade. Okay, 2 angles that add up to 90 degrees are complementary angles. That's one of the angle pairs you need to know in 7th grade. The following are examples of complementary angles. What's 27 plus 63? 27 plus 63. 7 and 3 is 10. 2, 3, and 6, that's 90. So those add up to 90 degrees. So those are complementary angles. They're not touching, so they're not adjacent, but those are complementary angles. Here's another angle pair. 40 degrees plus 50 degrees, we'll get up to 90 degrees. That is a pair of complementary angles. Those angles also happen to be adjacent because they share a side. So those happen to be an adjacent pair of complementary angles, two angles that add to 90. You also have to know about supplementary angles in 7th grade. So two angles, oops, let me go back, sorry about that. Two angles that add up to 180 are supplementary angles. They're an angle pair. You'll have two angles, and they have to add up to 180. The following are examples of supplementary angles. If you take 139 degrees and you add 41 degrees, 9 and 1 is 10, 3 and 4 is 7, and 1 more is 8, 180 degrees. Two angles that add up to 180 degrees are called supplementary angles. These happen to be adjacent supplementary angles because they share this side. Together they sweep out 180. They're supplementary. This is another pair of supplementary angles. They just don't happen to be adjacent. They don't share a side. But if you add 120 plus 60, you get 180 degrees. Therefore, these two angles are supplementary. 60 is the supplement of 120. 120 is the supplement of 60. All right, let's talk about vertical angles. Pairs of angles formed by two intersecting lines, pairs of opposite angles formed by two intersecting lines are called vertical angles. Again, these are all angle pairs. You're talking about a pair, two angles that have the same measure and are opposite one another when two lines intersect. So angle AOC is vertical to angle DOB. They happen to be the same measure. Every pair of vertical angles will have the same measure. Here in this example, CEB and DEA are vertical angles. They're opposite angles when two lines intersect. CA intersects BD and it forms vertical angles. So CEB and DEA are vertical angles, opposite one another. When two lines intersect, they will have the same measure. There's another pair of vertical angles here. CED, angle CED, and angle BEA are also vertical angles. That's also another nice vertical pair. So vertical angles are opposite one another. When two lines intersect, they will have the same measure. And finally, our adjacent angles. Again, it's a pair of angles. It's two angles that have the same vertex and share a common side. There's our common side, but they don't overlap. Those are called adjacent angles. They're positioned right next to each other. So angle CBD, that angle there, angle CBD, oops, and angle ABC, this angle right here, angle ABC, are adjacent. And the only thing we know about them is that they share a common side. They physically are touching one another. Those are adjacent angles. All right. This might be how a question like this is asked, when you're asked to just identify and recognize some various pairs of angles. It might give you a picture. The picture might have lots of angle measures in it. Name a pair of supplementary angles. Well, you have to remember, supplementary angles would be two angles that add to 180 degrees. There might be several angles in here that are supplementary, but as I look here and I see this straight line, this straight angle, I look here and I sweep out that straight angle, I can see that 70 degrees plus 110 degrees will get me to 180. That 70-degree angle is angle BCA. So angle BCA and angle ACD, angle ACD, together create 180 degrees. Those will be supplementary. And there might be others, but that's the pair that jumped out at me. Angle BCA and angle ACD are supplementary angles, two angles that add up to 180. You'll notice the center letter always has to be your vertex. So as you trace out that angle, A to C to D, we name it the way we would trace it. A to C to D is that angle there. B to C to A is that beautiful 70-degree angle there. And you name them just the way you would trace them out. All right, let's take a look, see if we can come up with some complementary angles. Ooh, they want 3 pairs of complementary. So complementary would be 2 angles that add up to 90 degrees. As I look here, there's no right angle symbol, so I'm not sure that these 2 angles add up to 90. But as I look, it looks like they might add up to 90, so I think I'll try that pair. So I'll take 55 degrees plus 35 degrees, and I'll hope that's 90. 55 and 35, 5 and 5 is 10, 5, 6, and 3 is 9. Oh, yay, that is 90 degrees. So let's name that B to A to C. Angle BAC and angle C to A to D, CAD. Those add up to 90 degrees. Those are complementary. So I got my first complementary pair. Angle BAC and angle CAD are complementary. All right, come up with another pair. Well, really, now I can name any 55 with 35. Okay, so I also see that angle AB, A to B to C, and angle C to D to A. Angle C to D to A must also be complementary. Let's find another pair. Any 55 with any 35. So this angle and this angle can be complementary. So that one would be angle BAC, angle B to A to C, and angle CDA, angle CDA. All right, so those are some more complementary. BAC and CDA. Another pair would be angle ABC with angle CDA. All right, some adjacent angles. Adjacent angles are just 2 angles that touch. Any 2 angles that share a vertex and a common side. BAC and CAD share this common side. So angle BAC and angle CAD, this angle BAC with CAD, those would be adjacent. Those are a special pair of adjacent. Not only are they touching, but they add up to 90 degrees. So that pair is also a pair of adjacent that happen to be complementary. Let's get another pair of adjacent angles. Oh, these 2 angles here touch. Any 2 angles that touch. So I'm going to say this angle and this angle. BCA, angle BCA, and angle ACD. angle ACD. They share a vertex, and they have this beautiful common side, AC. Those happen to be a supplementary adjacent pair. Hopefully